Good afternoon. Hey there, Epic Investor. It's Matt Terrio from Epic Real Estate, where we show people how to invest in real estate with an emphasis on retiring early. Today, we're going to talk about how to buy houses with seller financing. And specifically, I'm going to focus on why seller financing isn't working for you or is not working as well as you would like. There might be some frustrations there. I teach people and coach people on how to do this. In fact, I'm meeting with a group of people tomorrow over the next 2 days where I help them launch their business and help them get everything started. And creative financing is one of the things that we introduce very, very lightly in that initial workshop. And the reason very lightly is because people get so excited about it. They want to jump in, they want to embrace it, and they want to put it to work, and they want to build their real estate portfolio using seller financing and other creative financing techniques that we teach. And if you'd like to look deeper into that for yourself, you can go over to reiace.com, answer a few questions, and then you can hop on the phone with us and we can brainstorm some ideas about whether that would be a good fit or not. Okay, so that's at reiace.com. All right, so if this is your first time here, really glad that you found us. If you like what you hear, make sure you hit the subscribe button before you go. And if this is not your first time here, welcome back. And thank you for sharing this with your friends and family. You're the absolute best for doing that. So I really appreciate you for that. So let's dive into why seller financing isn't working for you or not working as well as you would like it to. And there are a few key things that I noticed right off the bat that that mistakes that people make. And I think if we can get rid of these mistakes, you can eliminate a whole lot of what ails you. And not necessarily is it going to be absolutely perfect and seamless, but you can get rid of a lot of these obstacles. So I think the first thing it comes down to where people get stuck with their seller financing comes down to a lack of preparation and unplanned presentation. It's really all in the presentation because people will ask, how do we market for people that are open to seller financing? And you really don't market any way differently. It's just how you present it to them, to the people that you do meet. Okay. So, hey, Molly, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Glad you made it. And by the way, I'm going to go through this whole process. And if you have any questions, feel free just to go ahead and type them right there into the chat box there, and we'll get it all resolved. All right. So when it comes down to seller financing not working for you as well as you'd like it, it's a lack of preparation and unplanned presentation. And so let's start with the preparation first. So we're just going to kind of assume we're in this position where we just got off the phone with a seller. They responded to some of our marketing. We kind of took them through this initial interview. We think there might be a deal there. We've set an appointment. And so now we're getting ready. So we got to determine the value of the property. That's really key. And so let's do that first. And so let's see if I can, I don't want to disable. Got to go to settings. And then if we come over here. All right. There's that. Okay, so we got our camera set up here. Let's do that. And then let's here, we'll just take a sample property from somewhere. Okay, so let's come over and we will I don't know, we just go to Zillow. Don't have to go anywhere fancy, right? Actually, let's do this just because I can get all the information in one spot. I'm gonna go to Epic Property Finder. This is the platform that I use to that I give to my students. It's a special version of PropStream. You're probably familiar with it. I think it's an ideal, essential tool for a real estate investor. It's only 99 bucks a month, and you'll probably use it every single day, all day long. And if you're familiar with accessing data and buying lists to market to and everything like that, you know how expensive that can be. When this came along, it was a total game changer. So I'm just going to I'll just go to my town where I'm at right now, to Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm just going to pick any random property. This one right there, smack in the middle. Okay, so this one here is a single family. Its value is $296. So when we're determining value, we need four things. We need to know the property's value. We need to know what's the seller's asking price. We need to know the condition, and we need to know how much it rents for. Okay. So those are the four pieces of information that we need. And I always bring this up because when someone is asking me for help, when one of my students come to me and they've got a deal that they're looking at and they want to know what my opinion is of it and what I think. And they'll go and they'll explain this whole thing to me in this long drawn out story, right? It's not uncommon for me to hear that, I met this nice little lady. She lives on the corner. It's a really nice neighborhood. And across the street is a school. And then, they have enough room for a pool to put in the backyard and all this information that really has no relevance over what we need to determine what's a value. So it's all story. I just need these four pieces of information: the value, the asking price, and the condition, and the rent. So with Epic Property Finder, PropStream, and if you want to go get a free access to this, you can just go to epicpropstream.com, epicpropstream.com. But this is how easy it is. And I just need to do kind of a quick and dirty analysis here to get a value of this property. So we always start with the distance because the location. So this defaults to a half a mile out right here, as you can see. How come that's not? There we go. You can see this. Why is it doing that? Okay, you got the point. So a half mile distance right here in this distance part here. And then our square footage will be the next piece of criteria that has the biggest impact on a property's value. So this defaults to, let's see, our property's square footage is 1779. This defaults to between 1423 and 2135. So these are the default numbers, not necessarily that they're right or wrong, but I like to reduce this down a little bit just so I don't want to factor in all of these huge houses that are obviously worth more into the value of the house I'm looking at. So I'll do that. And then we're going to go from time period. So I'm just going to try and see if I can get 3 to 5 recent sales here on the right within the last 90 days. If I can get just 3 to 5 where I can take an average. So so that'll take us to right about here. Will give us 90 days. And see, that still gave us a whole bunch, right? So when I have this many to work with, I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's make sure that we're looking at all single family homes. That's one way. So we can reduce this number a little bit more. Let's see if we can get them a little bit closer. So if I went, say, to 0.3 miles. Okay, that's good. So we've got 4 properties here. Let's see. And I'll always come over here to the right, look for anomalies, like if there's something really high or really low. But it looks like we've got a nice little tight group. This one's a little bit priced higher than the rest. So I might go ahead in their normal circumstances and remove that from our calculation, but I'm just going to leave it. So our value right here, the average sales price of these 4 properties that recently sold is $310,000. So there's our value, $310,000. Okay, so we'll just start with that number. Then we want to know what the asking price is. So is this property listed for sale? Okay, well, that was listed just on January 11th. And you can see the asking price already is $375,000. So it's important to understand that these are what properties like this one have sold for. Let's see if hopefully I didn't reset it. No. So these 4 properties are just like the one we're looking at. They're similar in location. They're similar in size. And they were sold recently in the last 90 days. And based on the market data, our comparables suggest this property's value is probably worth $310,000. That's what the market is saying, right? That's what people have come along and paid for houses of this type. But the seller's opinion of value is $375,000. So obviously they're a little ambitious here. There might be some nuances there, but this is just my quick and dirty math. But they obviously want more than what this properties like this are selling for. If we even looked at this biggest seller in November, that was $367,000, right? So even we're well priced over that. So next would be the condition. Now, I don't know if I have pictures. Oh, I do have pictures of it. Let's check it out. Okay, so it looks pretty nice there. Okay, a little bit older style. It's got a pool. Okay, it looks like a rehabbed kitchen. Okay, this looks like someone might have purchased it and rehabbed it and cleaned it all up because it looks like we got new floors. So it's going to be very little rehab probably to do here. There's always something, right? There's always something, but very little. And so the way we evaluate how much a rehab is going to cost is we will go through, we just kind of classify it as it need light, medium, or heavy rehab. That's what we're looking for. And so this one is super light. And we kind of do this at $15, $20, and then $25. We do that multiplied by the square footage. And that just gives us an estimate right now. Now, when we get the property under contract, we can go confirm that number, but this is a good enough number for us to work with. So if I exit out of these pictures and I come up and say, this is a super light rehab. So it wouldn't even be $15 a square foot because it's in great condition, but I'll always put something. So I'm just going to say 5,000 bucks. I might want to put some new paint in there, maybe some landscaping, stuff like that. Maybe make some minor adjustments, but I'll just kind of give myself an allowance for that. The next piece of information I need is to know how much this property rents for. So right here, just from PropStream, it's $1,718. So we'll just say $1,700 bucks. Okay. Now I got enough information to determine the value before I go meet with this seller. So the what we use is we'll go ahead and we'll take the market value, and you've probably seen this before, and we're going to multiply that by a certain percentage. And I'm going to get back to that in just a second. But then we're going to minus repairs, and then we're going to minus our desired profit. And that essentially will give us our ballpark cash offer. Okay. Now, this number right here, traditionally, you'll see this number as 70%. That's kind of the default number, particularly if you follow any wholesalers or real estate influencers that are out there flipping properties. They'll kind of use a 70% there. And what this is doing is you're taking an immediate discount off of the market value to leave some profit on the bone, to leave some equity there so that you could sell this to another investor and still make your profit that we'll put over here. But another investor is not going to buy the property from you unless they can make money on it also. So that's why we want to take an immediate discount up here. So traditionally, you'll see a 70%, but it's really kind of a sliding scale. And I've kind of made some adjustments to this over the years. And this seems like a good rule of thumb is if the value of the property is between 0 and 200,000 or 201 to 400,000 to 401 to 6, and then say to 600, 1,000 plus, okay? And I'll use customarily for this quick and dirty math formula, I'll use 70% if this is the value of the property, 75 here, 80 here, 85 there. Again, like I said, this is just quick and dirty. We can always come back and make these adjustments, but to figure out my initial opinion of value, what I might want to pay for this property, these are the numbers I use. And keep in mind, there's a lot of gray area in between all of this too. So with this property's value at 310, I'm kind of looking, okay, I'm going to multiply this by 75%. So my market value is 310. And then let me go ahead and just kind of back out of this now so you all can see that a little bit better. All right. Hey, Frederick, good to see you. Blaze, very good. Haven't missed too much at all. The great thing about this is it's being recorded and you can always come back and take a look, okay? So we'll go ahead and we'll take our 310,000, multiply that by our 75%. So that's going to give us our initial number here of 232,500. Okay. And now we're going to minus our repairs. So our repairs here for this practice, the property is in great condition, so it'll be 5,000 bucks. Okay. And now we're going to minus our profit. So that profit number is really, there's not a right or wrong answer. It's how much money you want to make on this deal. So my analysis of this, if I had a $300,000 house, I'm probably looking to make 10 to 15,000 bucks is kind of what I want to shoot for on a wholesale. So I might just go ahead and put in 20,000 here to leave me some room for negotiating. Okay, so I got 232 minus the 5,000 minus the 20,000. That's going to give me $207,500. This is kind of the price I want to buy this property at. Okay, so this is what I'd be looking for. Now, the next number I want to look at is if I purchased this property and I was unable if I purchased this property here and I was unable to flip it, if I didn't find a cash buyer and I had to hold on to it, I want to make sure that it pays me more than it costs me. So I want to make sure that I can at least cash flow until I do find a buyer. So I'm just going to use real quickly the 1% rule. So up here in the top right, it's kind of like a lighter gray color. I hope you can see it. But where I got the $1,700 that you see right here, it's right up there, 1718. I'm just going to use the 1% rule. And the 1% rule says that the full purchase price of this property, and that would include the acquisition, the rehab, can't be more, or excuse me, my rent can't be more than 1% of that number. So real quickly, what I would just do is if I got $1,700 right here is my rent, I know my other price, I'm just going to add 2 zeros to that because that's going to give me the 100% or the 1%. So there's $170,000. So I kind of want to be here if the property is going to cash flow under conventional traditional means. And then if I'm going to flip it, I kind of want to be here. All right. So these are just the two numbers I'm going in. I don't know if I'm going to buy this property for this or not. I don't even know if after I see the property, if I'm going to present my offer with these numbers, because there's a lot to be seen once you get to see the property in person and you can make some adjustments. It might not even be worth this. And, after I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, no way. It's next to a nuclear waste dump. You're going to have to pay me to take it, whatever it may be. But at least I got these numbers. I got a range. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to focus on the price. So let's go back to our creative financing idea that now that we got a good determination of value, right? We got a good determination of value, and then we have a good idea as to what our offer price is going to be, at least a range. Okay, so I got the value, the ask price, condition, and I got that. And now when I go to present my offer for the seller, I'm going to still go for price. Keep in mind that, when you're talking to a seller, you can't just go in, and this is where a lot of people get messed up, is they go in and they immediately try to go in and will you accept seller financing? How about a subject to? And they kind of go right in with that. And that can be a real challenge because sellers don't really speak our language. Their language is price. That's all that they understand. They don't really understand what terms are. And I just did a live stream with Pace Morby a couple nights ago, and he has a totally different approach, and I'm sure they both work. This is just the way that I do it, and Pace has a little bit different way. He kind of goes in and offers a subject to or payments kind of much more sooner in that conversation to almost intentionally confuse the seller to where the seller asks, how does that work? And then, Pace has his F-150 story all presented and ready to go, and that kind of sets him up to do his successful deals. Well, I don't really like to go in and confuse the person. I would rather explain it to them in a little bit more of an elementary fashion so that they could actually understand it, because most people just don't know what subject to is. And the Pace's way is not right or wrong. My way is not right or wrong. The right way is to do it the way that it works for you. So I'm just kind of letting you know or sharing with you what my experience is as to why it doesn't work for most people. Pace has been doing this for a very long time. He's very experienced, and he's a professional. He knows exactly how to do it. But if you're just getting started, you can get really stuck. You can trip right there and kind of kill the whole deal for yourself. So let me come back over to, and I'll show you how the logic behind of how this works. Okay. All right. So we've got our price right here. I'm just going to let's see. Let's do this. Not as kind of this is right, so we can get all on one piece of paper. I want to be between 170,000 and 207, right? 207,500. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. That's my range. So let's just kind of do this there. So now when you're presenting a creative offer, you want to go walk in with the mindset that I am going to purchase this property in one of two ways. And you as a real estate investor want to be thinking along these lines as well. You're going to be thinking along price or terms. Price or terms. As long as you control the price or you can control the terms, you can always make a deal for yourself. Okay. So it looks kind of like this. If we have this little axis, and then we've got our price up here, and we have our terms right here. Okay. And so right here where these two intersect, this is our discounted, discounted all cash offer. Okay. So the discount being the price, then the all cash being the terms. Okay. So this is where we all kind of start. And this is where I shoot for when I present it to the sellers. And Mr. Seller, based on what the market is saying about the value of your property, and then after you shared with me about the condition of it, you've done a really great job. There's probably some minor things that I want to make an adjustment to. And then just after carving out a small adjustment or a small profit for myself, what you're really saying is we're probably right around $207,000. Is that right? And the seller would be like, and that's this part right here. $207,000 would be our cash offer, right? And the seller might push back and say, "Oh no, my gosh, and hell no! Like, did you see the houses we're selling for $300,000 and blah blah blah? I need a much higher price, or there's just no deal here." And that's kind of where a lot of people stop if they don't have these creative ideas to take advantage of. So it's perfect. So this is how these two things work together. So if he didn't like the $207,000 that was right here, and he wants the $300,000, great. Well, the market looks like it might be able to give that to me or give that to you, and I'd be happy to help you make that happen if I could give you some money now and the rest later. And that's where the terms comes into play. So the higher we go up on the money, the longer we can take to give it to them is going to be how our offer is presented. So you can see right there, I didn't offer seller financing. I didn't offer a subject to or anything like that. I just said the market might allow me to give you your price up here if I could give you some money right now and the rest later. Okay, so money now and some more later. Anyone can understand that, right? That's a very elementary way of saying it. And so he might ask, okay, so what did you have in mind? I was like, well, how much do you need right now? He says, well, I need at least, maybe I need $50,000 to get to my next location and put some money in my pocket. Great. So that leaves us with a balance of $250,000. So how many payments could I make for that? How long could I take to pay for that? Would 200 payments be okay? And I'll throw a number out there like that. And oh no, that's 200 payments. That's not too long. That's too long. How about 100 payments? And we kind of go back and forth on the time until we find a good term that he's willing to wait for the balance. And say he just said 50 payments. So I like to start high. I'll say 200 or 300 payments. And say he said, no, I'll take 50 payments. Okay, so I can look at 50 payments and I say, all right. So in order for me to make this cash flow and hold on to itself, it's really important of what that payment is. I can't just take $250,000, our balance between these two numbers, and divide that by 50. That's going to be a really, really huge payment, as you can see here. So if we had $250,000 divided by 50 payments, that's $5,000 a month. Well, the property only rents for $1,700 a month, so that's going to be a really bad situation. So what I could offer is that instead of the $5,000, I'll just say, well, this is what we'll do. I'll give you $50,000 now, and then I'll give you my goal, or my first go-to is always to take whatever half the rent is. That way I know I can hold on to the property. It's going to cash flow while I make these 50 payments. So I can say I'll give you $50,000 now. Then what's 1,700 divided by 2? $50,000 now, and then I'll give you 50 payments of $850. Okay, so we can do that. So now that would be like my initial counter, and he's going to say yes or no to this. And if he says no, I need more money down, right? Or he says I need more payments, then I can just play with the price or terms. So you're always making this adjustment. Well, great. If you need more money, Mr. Seller, say we needed $100,000, I'd be happy to give you that. But if I'm willing to do that for you, this is what I need for you to do for me. Is if I give you $100,000 now, then the payments are going to be $500, 50 payments there. Okay, so that's going to give me a bigger cash flow position while I wait for those 50 payments. And then he might say something along the lines of, well, I need more than $500, right? And I'll say something along the lines, well, if I gave you more than $500, then maybe I gave you $40,000 here, right? And I can give you, $900 in payments here. So you're just kind of going back and forth. It's always a give and take. And this makes it real. And so what you want to do, your whole goal is to just agree in the concept or in the terms here. And then once you have that, then you can go ahead and put in seller financing into the conversation, into the contract. You can put a subject to or a wrap or a lease option, however you may do it. But just keep in mind that the more the money that they want, the longer you take to pay for it. And then, if they want a bigger down payment, the smaller the payments get. And let's say that, it's we could do another way. You could also play with the number of payments. So he says, I need $150,000. Well, I can be glad to give you $150,000, but what I would need is then 100 payments of my 850. Okay, so you always want to, you always want to keep two balls in play. Because if you focus down on just the price or just the down payment, you go back and forth negotiating that or just negotiating this, there's always going to be a winner. There's always going to be a loser. But if you want to create a win-win scenario, that's something that seems fair and equitable to both parties, then always keep two balls in play. You've always got the price in play. You've always got the terms. So you got the amount of money that you're going to get right now versus the amount of money that you're going to get later. And you just kind of go back and forth and play with those. And when you start working it like this, you start finding a lot more sellers are much more receptive, because initially you went in with what they were expecting. They were expecting a cash offer. And then also maybe perhaps just what they were expecting. They were like, oh, hell no, that's way too low. Well, great. So if you'd like to get some more, I could probably give you some more. I think the market would allow me to do that. If you could take some money now and the rest later, how much do you need right now? So you're always just ending with a question. And this is how you kind of maneuver in and get your creative financing offers accepted. Okay. You get a lot more of them accepted that way than going ahead and leading with this. Mr. Seller, would you take a subject to seller finance wraparound mortgage? Most sellers, probably darn near all of them, unless they've done this before, if they've been a real estate investor before, are going to have absolutely no idea as to what you're even talking about. And you're going to confuse them. And we all know what a confused mind does, right? A confused mind does nothing. And that's not what we want. Like you can do this right, you can do it wrong, you can do it Pace's way, you can do it my way. But the last thing you want to do is do not want to be confusing. If you confuse the seller, you're going to lose the deal. All right, so just keep that in mind. And you can make some alterations to that approach, and you can do whatever feels best and most comfortable for you. I'm totally okay with that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And so just make sure that when you do it, you're not confusing. So you got to understand it really well yourself first in order to explain it to somebody else. All right. Cool. So hopefully, Molly, that helped out a little bit. I really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, let me know. We're just here for a half hour or so. I've got some extra time. If you want me to answer some questions, feel free to ask. And then Austin, as do none of us did at first, but this is very genius. Well, thank you, Austin. I appreciate it. I'm glad you made it. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully that helps you, right? And so this is kind of what we go through with our clients. And, that was a big 30-minute crash course. And over time, I'll go ahead and give my client support over that. And we work right here off of, Voxer. And they're back and forth all day long. Hey, Matt, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck there. How do I do this? What do I do next? And that's how I kind of coach them through. And after about, I don't know, they'll work with me anywhere from 6 to 12 months. But most of the time, 3 to 4 months, they're 100% independent. They don't need me too much anymore, except just for an occasional question here or there. And if you'd like to look in more into potentially working with us here at Epic and me personally one-on-one, you just go to reiace.com. You can see the domain name right there on the monitor, and then answer some questions. And perhaps we get to hop on the phone and brainstorm some ideas about what's going to work for you. All right. Let's see. Molly's asking me, does this apply to foreclosure too, or is it different? No, it absolutely can apply to foreclosure. Exact same thing. The difference is, as long as the private owner is still on title, if it actually is in foreclosure and the bank has taken the property back, then almost 99% of the time, no, the bank isn't going to negotiate with you that way. Okay. Let's see. Austin, we just came across a property. We are looking for our first investment property, and I think this would be perfect for our situation. Awesome. Yeah, you just got to ask, right? You just have to ask. And I mean, as you'll probably know and learn very quickly in this business, most people do say no. Almost all of them do. But it's such a lucrative business, you don't need a whole lot of yeses to really transform your life financially. Okay. Let's see. Is that Antoinette? Nice to meet you. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Would you use private money to come up with the $100,000 down payment? Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to go into all these deals with none of my own money. And this is kind of what I'd be looking at. And I'll go over this really quickly. Because if private money is the question and you're thinking like, oh, I don't know who could loan me $100,000, or, I don't have any friends with that type of money. Or I don't want to, I know some people with that money, but I don't really want to approach them because I don't want to look like I'm begging, right? A lot of people think they're going begging. No, but you're giving them an opportunity. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'll go back to the camera here. Okay. So Antoinette asked the question, would you use private money? The answer is yes. And so this is how I find my private money, just to give you an insight. And maybe you're wondering about this question, maybe you weren't. But if I needed this $100,000, right? So we've got this $300,000 property, and we need $100,000 down, and then we're going to have these monthly payments, let's say, of this $500. So it rents for 17. So I need to figure out what my ROI is under these circumstances, and this allows me to determine how much I could pay for my private money, and how much of what the profit is there that I could pay. So if I'm looking at this, I'll start with my rent, which was $1,700. Okay, and so I'm gonna take $1,700, and I'm gonna subtract 40% of that, and that's gonna be for taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, and property management. Okay, so that's going to give me $1,020, right? Now I'm going to subtract the $500 payment that I'll be making to the seller. So 0, 2. So I'm going to cash flow $520 is my monthly cash flow, $520 a month. Okay. Now I need to figure out my ROI. So I'm going to take 520, times 12. And so that's $6,240. And so I had to put in $100,000. So I'm going to divide 6,240 divided by the 100,000. And so that's going to be a 6% ROI, a 6% cash on cash return. So this is what I know. This is what the property produces, that I can't really pay more than 6% on this money here, right? So 6% on this money, someone that has $100,000, they might not be too excited about this. I mean, even though there's not too many places where you could give or could park your $100,000 and get a 6% return, but you could, what you could do is, if you understand the structure of this right here, I offer to pay $500 a month. Okay. So as you'll see, there's no interest rate that I'm paying to the seller. So that's another profit center. So if I got $6,240 a month that I'm making in cash flow, or this was annually in cash flow, I'm also getting a huge equity position because I'm paying 100% principal. So if I took the $500 times that by 12, that gives me another $6,000. Let's see, $6,000. We're going to divide that by our $100,000. Okay, so that gives us another, this is another 100K. So that gives us another 6%. So we have a 6% in equity buy down, and we have 6% in cash flow. So now I could potentially give 6 or 7% to my $100,000 person for their money, and I can keep 5 or 6% in the ownership of the property that way. So this is a lot of money to put down. I haven't typically, this just kind of came out in this example. I wouldn't typically offer that unless I was really in love with this property and I just loved it. But if it was a $50,000 deal, so that would be like a 12% here instead, or that'd still be 6%, excuse me. If that was 6%, and I would change this to 12%. Now, being able to share some of this to where I would give, say, um, I could offer 8% for this $100,000, because there's really no place where someone can put $100,000 and get 8% that's secured by a real asset like real estate. So actually, you're doing them a favor. And a lot of people that have maybe just $100,000 cash, it might be just sitting in a mutual fund or a money market account or a bank account. And so 8% is going to kill most of those things all the time. And it's also secured by actual real estate. So I could do that. I could give them 8%. And so that would, out of this 12%, that would leave me with 4%, right? 4% of the cash flow each month. And I get all of the equity buy down. So that's how I do it. Once you figure out how much the property is actually going to pay you from an ROI perspective, it's really easy to go out and start making those types of offers to private money people. Okay. All right. Let's see. Hi, Doreen. Good to see you. Glad you made it. Why you charge so much to be a part of your team? Why I charge so much? I'm not sure. I don't charge anyone to be a part of my team. If you want my help, yeah, I can't help everybody. So it's not for free. Let's see. Molly says, I live in a small town. Here we go. I live in a small town, and when you were estimating the home value with same room, bath here, how would we get the exact comp? So are you saying, well, I didn't have the, let's see, let me read this one more time. And when you were estimating the home value with same room, bath year, how would you get the exact comp? Well, when it comes to determining the value of a property, it's not an exact science. So don't be concerned about getting an exact comp. And then you could also see here, when I was looking at this, like I'm not really going for exact, right? Because I'm just going in a 3-mile different distance. Maybe it was a 5-mile distance. I'm just want to get like 3 to 5 comparable sales. So I've got that. And then here, like I know my square footage is 17, almost 1,800 square feet. And so I'm going through a price range, or excuse me, a size range here. So that's not exact. It's just kind of getting in the ballpark. And then I just kind of took in the last 90 days. And then, so that's just kind of a range also. I mean, an exact comp would be this house sold yesterday for a certain amount. That would be an exact comp. But everything else is just an estimation. It's just a guess. You know, if I went out and met with 10 different certified licensors, and I mean, these are people that are trained for this. They're experienced years of it, and they got an official license from the state. And we asked them to go out and determine the value of any given property. You're going to get 10 different answers. We just want to get into the ballpark. We just want to know what people in the marketplace are paying for the type of property that you're thinking about buying. And that's the best we can do. Okay, so hopefully that helped a little bit. Let's see, one more. Man, I live in a small town. How do you get an exact comp when you live further from the other towns and cities? Okay, so yeah, it's kind of the same answer, Molly. I don't want to go through it all over again, but it's kind of the same answer. And then like appraisers, if they don't have comps, if they can't find those exact numbers, they might look in another city for a comparable neighborhood to do the best that they can. It's just pulling in all the data you can to determine, or just to make a really an educated guess. And you're not always right. And so but what I've walked you through this time, it's enough to get the property under contract in the ballpark range. Once you've got the contract accepted, now you can dig really deep into the numbers and determine whether you've got a good valuation or not. Okay. Let's see. Harvey, on a subject 2, if a due on sale clause is triggered, what kind of time frame do you have in order to either refinance the property or figure out an exit strategy, or what do you usually do? Okay, so good question. So on a subject 2, inside of every loan agreement, residential loan agreement, there is a due on sale clause. So if the title were to change hands without the lender's permission, they could potentially call that loan due and force you to either sell the property or go out and get a new loan, or they're just going to take it away from you, right? So what's the time frame that we have for that? Right now, you might have up to a year, just based on the whole COVID guidelines and everything right now. If you went back to 2007, 2008, you'd probably people had stayed in their house for a year or two at a time before they ever got taken away. And that wasn't in a subject to situation. That was just from people stopped making the payments. So I think the fastest it could probably happen would be 90 days if they were really on top of the ball and they really wanted that property back. 90 days, I think, is probably the fastest. But I wouldn't be concerned with it. Pace and I would just, if you go back, if you want to look, watch the video that Pace and I did together on that very subject and that very conversation, you'll find that that's really typically not a concern, nothing to be super afraid of. Now, I think you're right. You should be prepared for it, but I doubt that you'll ever have to actually face the music on that. Okay. What's this? Thank you for the explanation. What are your thoughts of the Vegas market in terms of finding creative deals? I'm currently living in Vegas and getting your real estate license. Okay, good. They're really good. I mean, I think they're the same in every market. And what I mean by that is, like what I went through and I walked you through this whole creative deal, that is this really only works if the seller has motivation, right? The foundation of every deal lies within the seller's motivation to sell. So we've got to find a motivated seller. And that's just a long answer, a long way to getting to the answer, that every market has motivated sellers. What causes them to be motivated? Some sort of life situation, some sort of uncomfortable life situation where they need money likely, and their only asset, or the only asset that's going to solve their situation is by selling their house and selling it fast. So those are the types of people we market for. That's who we're looking for. And they exist in every market. So I've been here only about 2.5 years in Vegas, and I haven't been real active, I would say, in the last 6 to 8 months. I get almost all of my deals now through just the relationships I've been able to build over the last decade. But when I got here, I was very excited because I moved from Los Angeles, and I've not never, but it's been a while since I've been able to operate and find cash flowing properties in my own backyard. So when I got to Vegas, I got very excited. And so I started going through the multiple listing service and looking for properties that have been sitting on the market for a really long time, and sending creative offers over to them. And if you want to know how I did that, here, I'll show you. I did this, I think, 3 weeks ago on this exact process. So this might be really good for you, Antoinette, to go check out. Let's see. Let's come right over here. So if we come to the YouTube channel, I think it was right. If we go to videos here, and it was right. This one, seller financing on the multiple listing service. So if you're getting your license and you're here in Vegas, I've pulled this off 3-4 times now in just a year's time. And I got seller finance deals right from the multiple listing service. I didn't have to work too hard. And this is my whole strategy right there. So look for that video right here, and I'll walk you through it in very much the same fashion I just walked you through this. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right, Harvey, you're very welcome. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. And trying to do this every Tuesday and Thursday. So if you want to put that on your calendar, but I'll always give you a heads up. Okay. Uh-oh. Where's that coming from? Let me find out what just happened here. Aha. Love it when those ads start autoplay, right? Okay, we're all good. All right, so that wraps it up for today. If you found this episode really valuable, who else do you know that might as well? There's a really good chance that you do know someone else that would. And when their name comes to mind, please share it with them and ask them to click the subscribe button when they get here. I'll take great care of them, all right? And God loves you, and so do I. Health, peace, blessings, and success to you. I'm Matt Theriault. Living the dream. Take care.